my voice is audible and you guys can see me. Yeah. Am I audible? Great. So, so hi everybody. Hi, this is Ankita. And first of all, thanks a lot to Free Academy for uh, organizing this guidance session. And I really hope that I'm able to help some people who are pursuing CAD, who wants to do an MBA. Uh, I hope that I can help them and guide them in some way. And so I'll start with telling a little bit about myself, and then I'll give you some tips and suggestions, mostly on my own personal experience, how you can crack the examination. And at the end of the session, please feel free to post any questions or any queries that you might have, and I'll definitely get back to it at the end of this discussion. So yeah, let's start. So hi, this is Ankita. I am a mechanical engineering graduate from IIST Shibpur, post which I went to do my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. I recently graduated, and next week I'm going to join in a new role as a consultant. So that is going to be a new experience. Yeah, so let me start about how you can go on with your CAD examination preparation. So, what I would tell, the first question that you need to ask yourself is whether you should go for an MBA first, or when should you go for an MBA. So, the answer changes from people to people. If you're a college student or if you're a professional person, the answer would be different. If you're in your second or third year of college, then uh, it's better to start doing a lot of extracurricular activities or taking up positions of responsibility, so that your CV is pretty good when you actually go to a management college. And if you're a professional, you will always have an experience, so that is a benefit itself. My personal experience says that you should always work for at least 2 years before going for an MBA, though I was a fresher. But it's okay. If you want to go for an MBA, it's absolutely fine. If you are confident of it, it's absolutely fine. Clarity in your mind is very important when it comes to an MBA. So secondly, now I'll start about and I'll talk about how you can go on with your preparation. Firstly, it's not tough at all. If you are diligent and if you're practicing every day, then getting at least 95 percentile is not difficult. It The toughest part is getting from 95 to the extra percentile. That is what it makes it tough. So what I did was I started around 8 to 9 months before the CAD examination. Like I started in January and of that year, and I was enrolled in a coaching center which where I was preparing for the examination. But I would like to mention that it's not necessary that everyone has to enroll in a coaching center. You can absolutely study on your own. You can get books and online help. It's absolutely fine. What is important is that you be diligent about it, that you have to like practice every single day. Why I was enrolled is because third year and fourth year of engineering can be pretty hectic, especially with placements and all. You're very busy, so I needed some kind of a guidance, that if I go to the coaching center every day, I'll at least be practicing something every day. I won't be missing that. If you can do the same thing at your home, or if you have a senior or your parents to help, then that's absolutely fine. Then that is much helpful. You don't even have to go somewhere else. So yeah, 8 to 9 months prior to the CAT examination. I think 1 year is like an ideal time. 1 year 1 year before the CAT examination is an ideal time for you to start preparing for it. You will have enough time to do everything, practice, improve, etc. So I'll say the first step that you need to go forward is you need to first finish the syllabus that is there for the CAT examination. Then you go on. Then the step two is to how to improve yourself to find out what are your strengths or weaknesses when it comes to the examination, and then like strategize your game plan according to it. So the first part is, like I said, finish your syllabus. Let's get on how you can go on doing that. Okay, there are a lot of things that you can do. I'll just mention some tips or suggestions as to how I went on. So you know that CAT has three parts, right? It has verbal, it has quant, and it has LRDI. Okay. Now, I think it would be safe to say that nobody is really good or the best in all of them always. It's absolutely fine if you're good in one and if you're not in the others. What you need to do is, you just, when you're starting to prepare 1 year before the examination, if you're an engineer, you might have this thing that, I'll be good in quant, so let me just finish quant first, and then I'll go to LRDI, and then I'll go to verbal, etc. That is not the right way to go at all. You must remember that CAT focuses more on consistency than excellence in only one field. So if you get, suppose, 99 percentile in quant, and if you get 92 in verbal and 95 in LRDI, that is not a very good outcome. But if you get 95 in all the three, then that's a much better outcome, because they want to see that you're good in all the three. You are a jack of all trades. Okay, they don't want to see you master of being one. So you need to prepare everything properly. So when you start preparing, start all at once. My suggestion is prepare a timetable first of all. Now everyone takes different amounts of time to finish a syllabus, right? So you just look at the syllabus, what all chapters you have, what all you know already, what all you don't know, and then prepare a timetable according to it. Make sure you finish at least 3 months. You finish the syllabus at least 3 months before the CAT examination. So say by August, you should have everything prepared. Make a timetable according to that. Now say you're starting every week, you can measure how much you have proceeded, but every week start preparing all at once. Like your timetable can say something like, week 1 I'll do 2 chapters of quant, 2 chapters of verbal, 2 chapters of LRDI. Don't do 5 chapters of quant in week 1 and then 5 chapters of LRDI in week 2. Not like that. You have to do all at once. That's the ideal way of going about preparing. Okay. Yeah, so you can just go on like that, and then every 2-3 weeks start taking, like, if you're following a book, then there are a lot of practice tests at the end of every chapter. If you are enrolled in a coaching center, they'll already have a lot of tests in their portal. If you're just enrolled in a center only for the examinations, you can do that also. It's always good to keep taking tests, so you are in an ideal scenario, like you have a time limit, you are in a test mode, so that helps a lot. My third tip is that your initial focus should be first on accuracy. So in the first 5 or 6 months that for the interruption. Yeah. So, like I was saying, in the first 5 or 6 months that you are finishing a syllabus, don't focus on how fast you can finish your question, how fast you can get to the solution, or how quickly you can solve the paper. That is not your main focus. Your focus should be how many questions you can get correct. So, suppose you're attempting 10 questions, let it take more time. It's absolutely fine, because the first priority is understanding how to solve a question. So try with the ones that you have already done. Then you cannot solve, then you look at the example questions, or if you have a senior or someone who can help with you with it, ask them, and then try to understand the concepts first, because most questions are based on those concepts. Okay. So yeah, your focus should be accuracy. First 6 months, focus only on accuracy. After that, when the entire syllabus is finished, then you can start taking full length mock tests, like 3 hour, like exactly CAT, like 3 hour mock tests, and in that you can start focusing on your speed as to how fast you can finish. What I used to do is, this is something that you can also follow. I used to have this small diary where I used to note down all of my strengths, weaknesses, and all the questions that I am good at, all the questions that I am bad at. I think this is a really good idea, because it will help you after those 6 months when you are actually strategizing a game plan, when you are finalizing how you should go on in solving a paper. That is equally important as to preparing for the examination in the first place. Okay. So, like I said, finish the syllabus. Now I'll come to the step 2, which is strategizing your game plan. So, first I'll say how you can go and strategize. Okay. So, what I used to do, like I mentioned about diary, what you can do the same thing. So suppose I'll give an example of mine. I realize that I'm good in verbal and I realize that I'm good in quant, but I'm not so good in LRDI. Okay. So initially I used to start writing in my diary that I am not very good in LRDI questions. But that is very vast. Then I started exploring LRDI and I understood that I can crack logical reasoning questions, but I'm not good in data interpretation. So you write that down, that you can solve logical reasoning questions faster than you can do data interpretation questions. Then you go much deeper in the logical reasoning questions itself. Which are the questions that you can do very fast, or which are the questions that you get correct almost all of the times and you don't have a problem in understanding them. And then write down the kind of questions that you always face a problem with. So I realized this very interesting thing. Then in LRDI, in data interpretation, there are a lot of sports questions, okay, like cricket, football, sports related questions. And I'm not a sports person. So it took me a lot of time to understand the sports terminologies. Okay, so I realized that I'm not good at them. So I used to keep noting it down that I'm not good at data interpretation, sports related questions. How this helps is when in the last 2-3 months, when you're actually solving full length mock test and you're understanding how you should go about doing the CAT question, then you should strategize accordingly. So my game plan was, whenever I'm going to attempt the LRDI question, I'm going to select those questions that I can attempt first and I can attempt correctly. So a good idea is to spend 2 minutes. It's not wasting any time. It's spend 2 minutes to see the question paper, to glance through the question paper. There is an option where you can click and just see the question paper all together at once. It's good to do that and just glance through and see what all kind of questions are there, and then just mark it down what kind of questions you need to solve. For example, in LRDI, I think there are around 32 to 34 questions, roughly 8 sets, and to get a good percentile, solving 4 sets is enough. If you can solve 5 sets, that's really amazing. Okay, so you select only those 4 sets of questions that you think you are good at and you can solve correctly. So whenever I used to see any sports related questions, I would ignore that, and then I would just select the logical reasoning ones first, and then I would say data interpretation. How that helps is, now I'm going, after I spend those 2 minutes, now I'm going to for the rest of the time, I'm going to go and solve about only those questions and not the other ones. This saves me time. This saves me from wasting time on those questions that I might not be able to solve in the first place. So 15 minutes wasting into a question that had no solution, that does not make sense, right? So this was my game plan. This is only with respect to LRDI. For example, let's take some other parts like verbal or quant. So what I understood in quant is, I think most engineers can relate to me, is that everyone is moderately good in quant. I saw that I had great accuracy in quant questions. Whatever I solved, I always got it correct. Very rarely did I get a question incorrect. But my problem was that I could not solve more than 25 questions. And when I realized that this was the problem, that accuracy was not the problem, I just had to find out ways in which I could solve the questions faster, or not fast. Two things: you can either solve the questions faster, or the second thing is you can solve more number of questions, right? Both are sort of interrelated. So I found out a way in which I can solve more number of questions. I found out the questions that I'm really good at. For example, I was very good in geometry and algebra, quadratic equations and all. So I would select only those questions first and I would solve it in one go. When I actually sat for my CAT examination, I saw that this helped a lot, because in like first half an hour to 45 minutes, I solved most number of questions that I could do. And then the rest of the time you can solve the ones that you're not the best at. Okay. And then, now I'll go about verbal. Okay, so I was good in verbal, definitely. I did not have any issues that I faced in LRDI or quant. But the problem is, verbal has a lot of passages that you need to read, right? And they can be very long. and they take a lot of time to read. Okay, so the first thing that we should start doing is speed reading. It's a very good habit that you should start inculcating from the first day of your preparation, which is the very reason I said like start preparing verbal, quant, and LRDI from the first day itself. It's not that start verbal later, because then you might realize that you don't have time to prepare for things like this speed reading. Okay, so yeah, so I started reading a lot of other articles, etc., and to increase my reading speed so that I can finish a passage in like 7 to 8 minutes. Actually, 7 to 8 minutes is the ideal time that you need to the full length. You need to finish a full length passage in. So keep a timer set and try to follow that to understand if you're making any improvements. So yeah, so that is how I went about for my verbal. Uh, so yeah, more or less these are the ways that I followed each of the sections of the CAT paper in. Some general suggestions would be, if you find out that you're not good at solving a particular type of questions, for example, you realize that you are not good in solving geometry questions at all. Every time you solve a geometry question, you get it incorrect. So 90% of the times you have solved a geometry question, you have got the incorrect answer, and you find that after 6 months of preparation and say more month of following your game plan and everything, you realize that it's not happening. Every time I'm solving a geometry question, I can't solve it. Then don't solve it. That's the idea. You have a lot of questions in your CAT paper. You're not going to solve every one of them, but if you're bad at something, it's fine to accept that and not attempt that in your question paper in the final CAT question paper. I know sometimes it hurts, especially to engineers. It feels like engineers or maths, somebody who really likes maths, that I shouldn't do this. I can really solve it if I give it one try. But it's okay. You move on and do questions that you're good at. It's fine to just not attempt them. You're saving time. You're saving inaccuracy. It matters a lot in your CAT examinations that you get as many correct answers as possible. Not just more number of questions, but also more number of correct answers that you have got. So accuracy and speed, you need to find a very sweet balance between both of them. Okay, so yeah, more or less that's how you go about your CAT examination. And after you finish your CAT, just like at least a week before the final examination, do not stress yourself a lot. It's bad idea to keep preparing till the last minute. You have given your best for the first 7 to 8. How many months you have prepared? 1 week before the CAT, take a break, chill, sleep well, eat well, so that on the morning of the examination you're not tired at all. Yeah, don't over practice or don't over stress. That's not a good idea at all. And I have seen people like studying even till like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and then going to give the examination at 7 o'clock, and they feel so much of fatigue that they cannot concentrate on the paper. That's not a good idea. It's fine. Okay, you're going to get most number of answers correct on that day. So that is it about like CAT questions. After you have done all this and after you have given the examination, you have 2 to 3 months before which the results come out for your interviews. If you are very confident of your your examination, it's good to start preparing just after the CAT examination for your personal interview. So you have two things, I think, at least in the IIMs you have a WAT and a PI. WAT is a written assessment test. It's sort of like an essay that you need to write on the day of your interview, and then there's the personal interview. Okay. Do not take this lightly. You can be 100 percentiler in CAT and can get rejected from all IIMs in your personal interview. Okay, there are a lot of things that goes in the personal interview. I can mention a few things. I can highlight a few things that that can be a checklist for the interview. Okay. So the first thing is they focus on quality over quantity. When you're writing the WAT, or you're writing that essay, basically you will get 15 to 20 minutes to finish that. Okay, it's not important how long you write that essay. It doesn't have to be a 2-pager. 500 to 600 words essay, it doesn't matter. They care about what you have written, not how much you have written. So it's okay to take 5 minutes. Like what I used to do is to take like 5 minutes and just jot down the points or jot down my ideas, what I want to mention in the essay. It's important to have a different perspective than what you think, than the common perspective, so that whenever the professor is reading your essay, they feel that, oh, it's different, it's something that nobody else has spoken about. So yeah, that is important. Secondly, the approach is important. They want to see how you're approaching the question. Especially in Ahmedabad, they follow a case pedagogy. So every WAD or essay they give, they want to see how you're analyzing the question. What is your thought process? How are you thinking? It's not important what your recommendations are or what you finally finally give a conclusion about. They want to see what you're thinking, so that's important. And it doesn't matter. I know that I have written the shortest essays possible and I got shortlisted for all the colleges. So it's not important how much you've written, but it's important what you've written. Okay, and you can highlight or underline the points that are important in the essay. Okay, and follow a structured, organized approach when it comes, yeah, in the essay. That's it. For the personal interview, there are a lot of things that are there that you need to cover. That's why you should always utilize 2-3 months, not just wait for the results. Okay, because the results are going to come next January. The exam is in November. The results are going to come in January, mid-January to February, and the interviews start from mid-February itself. So you might not have enough time to start preparing for the interviews. There are a lot of things. Firstly, cover your academic part. If you are a college student, it's very important because final year students get asked a lot about their basics. So yeah, whatever you're studying. So if you're an engineering student, it's not important what you learned in your third or fourth year. It's important what you learned in your first year and second year. The concepts, the very very basic concepts. I can give you an example. Like in my IIM Ahmedabad interview, the professors that were taking my interview were not engineers at all. They were lawyers and marketing professionals. Okay, so they told me to explain how an IC engine works, but explain that to a layman. Like, do not use any technical terms. And I found it very difficult to explain something like that without using any of the technical terms. So they'll ask you something very very basic like that. Uh, they ask me why don't we use water instead of petrol? And in your mind you're thinking that's a very silly question, right? Why would we use water? That's not a fuel. But how do you explain that to a non-science student? I mean, the professor was not from a science stream, and you have to explain that very simply, very logically, why water would not be used but petrol can be used. So they'll ask you very conceptual questions. Why they do that? Because they want to see that your concepts are correct. Whatever you have studied, you have done it diligently, and yeah, they want to see that. So cover your academics properly. Cover all your projects and all your internships that you have done. If you have any interests that you mentioned, they'll ask you what are your hobbies or what are your interests. Be very smart and be very careful of what you mention. If you're mentioning something like I love reading books, it's good. I'm sure this is a hobby for everyone. I love reading too, but it's a very scary hobby to mention because it's such a vast field, right? So when you say yes sir, I love reading books, they'll be like, oh, have you read this book? Oh, have you read that book? 90% chances are that you have not read that book because it's luck. You have not read world's all the books in the world, right? So it's very scary to say that. Say something unique, maybe say something interesting so that it intrigues them, so that they can ask you more about it, and you can give an answer that is different from other people. For example, I had a strange interest in making bookmarks, so I really loved doing that, and I found that hobby around in my third year of college. So I mentioned that, and they got very interested about it, and they asked me why. They asked me questions like why did you take up this hobby, or what made you get interested in it. So the questions were opinionated, and the questions were not like have you read this book or what is the author of this book and so on. Because general knowledge questions are scary, you might not know the answers. But opinionated questions about you, what you think about certain issues. So that helps. Yeah, and then definitely current affairs and politics, all this. Please cover all the basics, whatever is going on in the world. They can ask you anything. At this top IMs have a habit of asking, what is your opinion or views on certain topics. For example, right now the mental health issue is going on, and then there was a beef ban a year or so ago. Um, yeah, issues like that. They want to know what are your views on it. And then yeah, and then there are the basic questions: why do you want to go for an MBA? Why do you do uh, if you are an engineering student, why do you do engineering? If you're a doctor, why did you become a doctor, and so on. Just have a clarity in your mind about what you're doing. And these questions are very important, trust me. If they're not convinced that you want to actually go to an MBA, or that has something that has a role in your future plan, then they'll just reject you. And this is the way how most, like many 100 percentilers even get rejected in interviews, even though they have scored, like they have done a perfect score in CAD. And yeah, so that's more or less it. If you have any queries, you can always get back to me. You can write to Free Academy, and they'll, or on the in the comment section of this live session, and I'll definitely get back to you with answers. And thank you everybody who mentioned in the comments, who have appreciated the session. It means a lot. So yeah, that's about it. I just wait for a few seconds in case you need to ask for any question. Okay. So yeah, thanks again to Free Academy for organizing this. I hope I could help at least some people and I hope some people benefit from this. Thank you again. Have a nice day and stay safe, everybody. And good luck for everyone who is going to give the examination this year. Bye.